Hi everyone, my name's Deb Tomney, and today we're going to talk about self-esteem. And the concept of self-esteem actually goes back to the concept of self. That's really the very beginning, where we have to look at how that forms, because you certainly need a strong concept of self before you can look at how you improve that. So today I want to talk about how we develop a concept of self. And so let's take a look at this. And the concept of self is formed very early on when we're children. And it's basically looked at through the eyes of a child. A child receives messages, be they verbal or nonverbal, from parents and those around them. So it's actually based on perception, not necessarily reality. And one of the things that I like to do is to use an example. So let's say, for example, if I had a handicapped brother and I saw that my parents spent more time, attention, and money on my brother, I probably, through the eyes of a child, would think, oh, they love my brother more than they love me. But when you look at that same situation as an adult, you come away with a different impression, in the recognition that my brother needed more to bring him up to speed. So this is the kind of thing that we take in as a message when we're children and begins to formulate the concept of self. The second thing that also happens is that when we're young, say anywhere around toddler age, 3, 4, maybe 5, even up to 6, children tend to be tribal. They form in little tribes and they look at what's different with someone else. Someone can be too tall, too short, have an accent, the wrong hair color, the wrong skin color, whatever, and are often picked out of the group and teased or bullied. And this also can hurt self-esteem. And so we take away these kind of messages and we begin to doubt ourselves. If you think of most children before this happens, and look at a little toddler, 2 or 3 years old, most of the time they feel pretty good about themselves. So for example, if you had a toy and I saw that you had the toy, I do an internal check, I see the toy, I know I want to come over and play with you. And then I get up, walk over and begin to play. But somehow after these other situations evolve and we start getting outside messages, we begin to doubt the self. And the only way we know to prevent those feelings of inadequacy are to begin to alter our own behavior. So instead of doing the internal check, assessing what I need or want, I begin anticipating what's outside. And the only thing I know to do is alter my behavior. So if I don't get up and go over and ask to play with the toy, people can't make fun of me. People won't make those kind of remarks and I don't feel inadequate. So self-esteem begins very early on with perception, and these instances begin to formulate who we are. There are 2 aspects of self-esteem that we need to take a look at. One is the being, and the other is the doing. If you want to know whether or not you have a problem with the being, you ask the following questions. Am I adequate? Am I enough? And am I lovable? If you struggle with this, and most people do, then you realize that you have an issue with the being. A lot of times people who have an issue with the being focus on the doing because that's something they can do something about. And then it becomes a quest for validation, whether it's trying to get straight A's or even being the class clown for attention. The doing allows us to feel some sense of control over this. Unfortunately, the doing changes. As you grow up, it's no longer cool to be the class clown. It's no longer something that serves you well. It starts to serve you in a maladaptive way, in a negative way. And so this doing gets focused on a lot more. But it's a quest that is constantly going on, and we're never able really to fill that glass of water, if you will. We're constantly trying to fill it. So it's a relentless quest of am I doing? And of course, when you do and you are successful, you feel pretty good about it. The being, on the other hand, is where we have the problem. And this is grossly underestimated. The being is the part of us that people cherish throughout the years. It's the part of us that's remembered long after we're gone. So if you think of someone you love, maybe a grandfather, and you ask yourself, why did I love this person? It may not be because he had a college education or drove a certain car or earned a certain amount of money or had a certain profession. It was more about that he was kind and thoughtful and generous and loved you for who you are. So this is what we really want to focus on to have a strong concept of self. And the next video that we do will look at how you can begin to develop that. I hope you find this interesting and give it some thought before the next time that we meet. Thanks so much.